Oh, hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of First Canada Live. I'm your host, Karthik Zoe, and today is going to be a fun one because we are talking robots. We're talking actual first robotics competition events. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get started, folks, as Canadians, it is very important to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let's take a moment to reflect upon the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of the respect for the Indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The Indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we remember the history of these lands and people that have been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with the First Nations who called Canada home before it was given this name. This history is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect on, and each of us is affected by this history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not define our future. All right, folks, to get us started, I want to welcome our co-host for today's show from the First Canada Youth Council and a member of FRC Team 771 SWAT from Oakville. Say hello to Zoe.
Hey, Karthik, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Zoe. How are you today?
I'm doing good, thanks. I'm really excited for the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one because you know what? We're just recapping what happened this past weekend at Newmarket and at Georgian. And Zoe, I know you were at Newmarket and it was a lot of fun, right?
It was really fun. I got to slightly volunteer and also be pit crew, so I got the best of both worlds. It was a great time.
That's a good doubler right there. That's a good doubler. We're gonna save all the talk because we have a lot very exciting guests. We're gonna save that for right now. But that's what we're talking. Recap of the Georgian College District event, recap of the Newmarket Complex event. We're gonna show some match video. We're gonna talk about stories of gracious professionalism, some behind the scenes. Impromptu, I think I'm just making a little change right now. I've got some stats that I pulled up in the last 10 minutes. We're going to show those as well. It'll be a little bit of a surprise for everyone, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Just a reminder, folks, if you have any questions for us or for our guests, post them in the Twitch chat. We'd love to get them live on air. But also remember, folks, we're here to have some fun and celebrate excellence in our community. So let's keep our comments positive. Let's focus on all the good stuff that happened this weekend, and it's going to be a great time. The Youth Council always does a wellness moment at this part in the show. And I think wellness is extra important right now because we know how, as much fun as these events are, there's a reason that Dean Kamen always says it's the hardest fun you'll ever have. It can be a bit of a struggle. It's long days. A lot goes into it. And so it's incredibly important that we are taking care of ourselves, right, Zoe?
Yeah, I think especially I know especially on the second day when alliance selections is right before lunch and everyone wants to have strategy meetings over lunch, it's so important to continue making sure you're eating all three meals and staying hydrated and everything. And especially I know the night before competition is literally impossible to go to bed early. I told myself I was going to go to bed at 9:30 and I was so stressed that I think I went to bed at 12. But it's really important to try and get a lot of sleep before the first day so you're not tired for the entire competition.
Oh, the sleep really, really matters. Because part of it is nerves and part of it is excitement. But the best things that I can recommend for anyone at these events is number one, get a good amount of sleep beforehand. Eat a healthy breakfast. You can get a banana in there or something to kind of give you that little bit of an energy boost. Stay super hydrated during the event. Even if you don't feel thirsty, you need to drink water. Otherwise, your feet you'll pay the price through your feet and the rest of your body. And also take some moments to relax. All our events have quiet rooms. So if you need to just kind of get away to a quiet room, you can pop over there. Or granted, not in the middle of a blizzard, but maybe you want to pop outside for a bit, and just kind of get a little bit of sunlight and some fresh air. It really, really makes a difference. So thank you, Zoe, for that wellness moment. I think it's a really important one. Also, everyone out there, I am totally guilty for missing all these instructions. I this weekend, I definitely did not eat 3 meals a day. Maybe I had one, but I felt it. I suffered because of it, and day one, I was good. Day one, I drank 1.5 liters of water. And then day two, I drank 300 milliliters. And I was feeling it by the end. So Stay hydrated, stay healthy, and focus. Like you want your team, everyone wants their team to do as well as possible, but a team is a sum of a group of individuals. And if the individuals aren't healthy, it'll be hard for the team to be healthy. And that goes for your robot as well. So just something to keep in mind. I think it's time for our news updates, folks. Just a reminder, we are every week that there is an event, a First Remarks competition event in Ontario. We're coming back on the Tuesday with event recaps. So we are off next week because there's no events this weekend and it's March break here. So everyone, take a week off. There won't be any First Canada Live. I know it's going to be hard. I don't know how you're going to survive your March breaks without it, right, Zoe? It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, I think it'll be a struggle.
Yeah, but we'll be back in 2 weeks where we'll be recapping the Western and Humber events. And then we'll back the next week where we'll recap Waterloo and North Bay. And back the next week where we'll recapping McMaster and Windsor. And back the next week when we're recapping the provincial championship. So just it's going to go bang, bang, bang. First Canada Live. We're here. Our in-person events are obviously back. It's full capacity. There's a lot of energy in the house. Just a reminder, folks, make sure you bring a mask because masks are still required at these events and, to stay safe. And also remember your safety glasses because you could not be in the pits or by the field without safety glasses. And that's super important too. Anyone out there who identifies as being an Indigenous person in Canada, we have the First Canada Indigenous Scholarship. The deadline is March 31st, so make sure you apply. And if you're not eligible, send it to your friends who are eligible. Give them a reminder, apply. So you did a lot of scholarship applications this year, right?
Yeah, I did like 3 big ones. And it's definitely a lot of essays, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't win, just putting your name out there is a really good opportunity. And plus, some of them have really similar prompts. So, if you want to take a little bit from one and put it in the other, they would never know.
Yeah, and also those essays, you could reuse them, when you're applying for internships. You not reuse them at whole, but like parts of it might help for a cover letter, and or your university application. Sometimes when they're asking for a secondary form or whatever. So it definitely doesn't hurt to apply. You know what? You can't get what you don't ask for. So if you don't apply, you can't win. The bronze safety badge, folks, remember, safety is our top priority here at First Canada. So to help ensure you're ready and up to date with all the safety rules and regulations, you can take the First Canada the bronze First Canada safety badge quiz. And if you take the quiz and you score high enough, you'll get a virtual certificate, which you can exchange at the swag booth to the one and only swag EP for our real badge at events. So you want to make sure you do that. Zoe, do you have your badge yet?
No, I
Come on.
did not know that was a thing. I will do it before North Bay so I can get a really cool swag.
You got to get your badge. You got to get your badge right there. Also, folks, the inspection checklist is super important. All teams have to have their robot inspected at events. But the checklist, you don't have to wait till events. It is online right now. You can take a look at it. You can do a pre-check to see how your robot's doing, and it'll make your inspection process smoother and faster. How did inspection go for you this week, Zoe?
It went well. Our mechanism was finished right before competition, so we had to do a lot of checking. So we got re-inspected a couple times, but I mean that's how it goes sometimes.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think we ever got like turned away or anything this year, which was good.
Yeah, the inspectors, are just super friendly people, and like their goal is they want your robot to compete and compete well. So they're there to help you out. So remember that one. Speaking of help, folks, if you need questions, you have questions on anything, if you're on a first team in Ontario, join the Ontario team Slack. You'll find all sorts of information there. When we had the snow, updates were being posted in the Slack, so people knew what was happening with the schedule and everything. So it was really, really good. So you want to make sure you do that. And also, if you are a First Canada alumni, you're going to want to join our LinkedIn group because that's where you can find all sorts of networking opportunities and jobs. It's just other First alumni that you can connect with. So it's really, really interesting there. Zoe, were you part of the big alumni picture at the Newmarket event?
No, my team went to get lunch, but I did get the sticker.
You missed the photo? There's like everyone's there. It's going to be like
I know.
Everyone.
I was actually devastated when I realized I missed it.
No. So North Bay, you have to be there for it, and provincials, you have to be there for it. Okay, there's no missing it, but it's at lunchtime, so it's that's one you want to check out. All right, folks, I think we're ready to start our charged up discussion. So we will be back in just a quick moment. That explosion is intense. Every time it kind of was like, whoa, what's happening? First Canada Live. It's going right there.
I love like looking for all the people I know in the little squares as they
Oh
go
yeah,
by.
yeah. That's a fun game. It's pretty good. All right, folks, let's meet our guests for today's show. A longtime game announcer and a member of the First Robotics Canada Board of Directors, the ambassador of fun, Mr. Charles Offor.
Good evening, everybody. How are you doing?
Charles,
Karthik, thanks for inviting me and everyone else on this panel.
when I hear your voice, when you come in with a good evening or good, I feel like I was at an event right there. I was like, oh, we're back. We're in this and everything. So great having you at Newmarket this weekend. Glad you were there and glad you're on the show tonight. Also on the show, First Canada alum and drive coach for Team 610 and 2015 First Robotics Competition Volunteer of the Year Award winner, Parth Patel.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing?
Good. What up, brother?
Yeah, well, just winding down from the tournament we just came back from. So, it's a little bit sad that there's no robots this weekend because I'm kind of in that zone now.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I definitely need a week off after
A
this
week
tournament.
off. Hey, I want to ask both of you, well, for everyone on the panel, like, how much recovery time do you need after an event before you're feeling like, okay, I'm like back to normal again?
Oh, good.
I'll go
I
first.
often take a day because of my voice.
Yep.
And usually after the event, I go home, eat dinner, and I crash. And then Monday, I try not to talk. And usually by Monday evening, I'm pretty good. But it depends if I'm how many game announcers are also on with me. So it's really nice to switch that, actually switch up and get everyone else involved.
What about you, Zoe?
I'd say usually if I have like a day with no school, but if I have school each day, it takes me like I think almost a week.
Oh, right. Yeah. Before all our events ended on Saturday, but now lots of our events on Sunday, and then you're like back at school on the Monday. So that can be tiring for sure, right?
Yeah, I had a first period biology test on Monday.
Oh,
That was not.
that's rough. That's rough. What about you, Parth? You're a teacher. So what was Monday morning like?
Well, we're actually doing something interesting at Crescent this week. So we don't have regular classes. So we have different programming this week. So it was actually a lighter school day for me than normal, which was very welcome. But I find that when I'm with the team, I need a lot longer to recover versus when I'm volunteering at an event. I find that when I'm with the team, I'm on all the time, whereas when I'm volunteering, I get breaks throughout the day. So just depends on what I'm doing at the event, I think.
It's a lot. These events, that's why Zoe's wellness moment is so important. You really got to take care of yourself with these events. So we just came out of week 1 of the season here in Ontario and across the globe. I would love to know, Charles and Parth and Zoe, for all of us, what impressed you the most about what you saw this weekend? And so for our audience, Zoe, Charles, and Paul, and myself, we're all in Newmarket, but some of us were watching Georgian too, so we have kind of an eye on what's going on. But maybe I'll start with you, Parth. What impressed you the most?
Let's talk robot. 2056 impressed me. There's no surprise there, but even though I'm not surprised by the fact that they were really, really good. Just how good, really, really good they are it's always a shock to see someone dominate the field like that. That robot is a machine and it is well crafted.
Okay,
and not that they weren't the only one, but there were so many other robots too. Like 2200's robot's great. The Charger's beautiful machine. So I was just impressed by how ready everyone in Ontario was for a week 1 event. Like I forgot that I was at a week 1 event there on Saturday and Sunday because we had robots moving. I think all 34 teams at least played in a match and they all connected to the field. And there were elements of there was a snowstorm, but all 34 teams showed up and we competed. So just that was impressive. Like a week 1 preparation to that extent was it's hard to see.
So you mentioned 2056, and I want to show. I was going to save this for later, but I'm going to show a graph. And I know, sorry, producers, I'm going to share my own screen here because I only thought of this like 2 minutes before showtime here. But this graph just kind of illustrates where 2056 was relative to everyone.
The rest of the field. Yeah.
Rest of the field. So are you seeing? This says 2023 Ontario District Newmarket competition. You seeing that, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on the x-axis is EPA for teleop points. EPA is a stat created by Statbotics. It basically kind of measures like approximately how many points on average a team was doing in teleop. And the y-axis is auto and end game. So the further you are out, the better you are. Look, there's everyone and 2056. They were in their own universe. Not only were they ranked number one at Newmarket, not only were they ranked number one in Ontario, they were ranked number one in the world. But the gap between them and the other teams in the world is similarly massive. It is wild. And sometimes I think we take 2056 for granted up here in Ontario because we are used to seeing them so often. But they were the best team of the world. And wow, was that an impressive performance. So that is pretty cool just to see that distance. And what really struck me about them was how simple their robot was. If you look at it, it doesn't look like it's super complex, just 2 joints, pretty standard sort of claw. And it wasn't even the fastest robot, but it was the fastest scoring robot, right?
Mhm.
It was wild. Like, it would release the cones so quickly, it would pick them up quickly, just steady. It was absolutely fabulous to see. So that was pretty cool there. Anyways, that we'll come back and we'll talk more stats because that's what I do. I just talk stats. That's what I love to talk about. But Charles, I don't know what impressed you the most about this weekend.
I was going to say it was a feast for the senses there for everything that was going on the field. There's an never dull moment with robots scurrying all over the place. I was very impressed. Same with Parth with 2056, but also actually many of the other robots when they were scoring, especially up on the upper nodes. If you notice, a lot of them didn't. I mean, they were very accurate in their scoring. And also, I found very amazing. I was expecting more cubes actually to be deflated, and that didn't really happen as much as I thought. I mean, they ran over, they were pretty durable. So in that fact, I was like, wow, because I helped blow a lot of them up at the beginning. So made me
Your work survived.
Yeah, so I mean, and plus the fact, I think it was by 9th qualification match. I mean, the high score for the weekend was like 159, and I think OP Robotics was on that alliance, and everything else was uphill from there. So it was very impressive to watch. Every time they went on, they were scoring like probably I think like 130, 140, and so I was very impressed. Very impressed.
Yeah, it was like to see. You mentioned the cubes not poppy. There was one robot that kind of went over the charge station and landed on a cube and bounced off of it, and the cube survived. I was like, that's like 120-pound robot right there. That's pretty impressive. Zoe, what
Did the robot
impressed you?
survive?
The robot survived too. The robot survived too. I think
That's
that,
equally
honestly,
important.
I think the cube came out of that battle a little stronger than the robot did, So
I'm not surprised. That charge station can be devastating.
oh yeah. We saw that at Georgian where a robot did a backflip on the charge station. That was impressive. Zoe, what impressed you the most this weekend?
Yeah, so I didn't really get to watch that many matches until the playoffs since I was at the pits, but my pit happened to be beside 610, and I like looked over and saw the robot, and it was like so small and compressed, and I was so confused. I was like, can they only do the floor? And then I saw them test it in the pit, and it just like shot out of nowhere. So I thought that was really cool. Honestly, I have no clue how it works, but it like looks nice and then also looked like efficient. So I just thought that was really cool.
Well, we actually have someone on the show who does know how it works. So Parth, maybe you want to give a little bit of an explanation how that 610 slanted elevator works?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that it's a slanted elevator. We bought rails. Well, the ones that are on the robot are from McMaster-Carr, but we bought rails with bearing blocks on them, so we didn't have to do a lot of design work there. Just a COTS part, and we designed the carriage system with the intake. So a lot of our design effort went into the intake, which is unique to say the least, I think, the way we've approached that challenge. But we have a lot of new students on the team, so it was really interesting the way they approached the game, and we really wanted the design process to really flow from there. But it is just a slanted elevator, and it works through using straps. So we unwind it and wind up straps that essentially cascade the elevator up and down.
Very, very cool. So, we talked about what impressed everyone the most. Zoe, what surprised you the most about the weekend?
So I was in my team's pit, and then the Minister of Education just like walked in and was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" So that was a little shocking. I know that's not necessarily related to robotics that much.
No, it's part of the event, you know.
It was really cool getting to meet him. I had no idea that he was there. But yeah, we got a photo with him and it was like really cool getting to talk to him and kind of explain about our team and like what we did throughout the season. My team's the first all-girls team in Canada, so we talked a bit about that and then we talked a bit about the outreach we were running. So that was really cool.
That's a really, really cool opportunity. I'm glad you had that moment. Chucky, what about you? What surprised you this week?
Thoroughly enjoyed the actually the venue. Newmarket was a nice surprise. It's very seemed very intimate, and the fact that the robots were close with the pits on the other side, they didn't have a long way to go to actually get to actually the playing field. So that was great. My second surprise, which kind of blew me away, of how they used the charging station to launch themselves from the community to go to one side. I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought that that was going to be more an obstacle or barrier. So I was impressed how they used that to their advantage.
There was a real strategic advantage for the teams who could cycle over the charge station as opposed to having to go through one of the openings, especially when you have one of your partners who's already in the community. There's a little bit of a traffic jam in there. And so if you can't cycle quickly over the charge station, it really slowed you down. With the teams, you know, like OP Robotics, 2056, who could just like fly over that and use that really effectively. That was impressive. Parth, what about you? You are a veteran of this game. You know so much about strategy, but did anything surprise you this weekend?
Surprised me? Not really. I mean, like I said, I was surprised by how many robots were ready to go at week one.
Yep.
Given history and just where we've come from in the early 2000s, that's not common. That's not common. I'm not used to seeing, 8, 12 robots ready to compete for the championship at a week one event. And it was scary. It was scary for a while with all these robots driving around, swerve drives, just, at that. So it's impressive that the floor has certainly risen, and it was difficult to compete in Newmarket. And I was just looking through the stats. I'm sure we're going to get into it, but Georgian looked just as competitive, if not more competitive, depending on how you define competitiveness.
Coming into this weekend, a lot of people were talking about, oh, Newmarket is stacked. Newmarket is
Stacked,
stacked.
yeah.
But Georgian, and we're going to talk about Georgian in the next segment. The teams there came to play, so that
Indeed.
was really cool. I'd love, to hear from all of you about how you think this game might change over the next few weeks, because it's week one, but like, you see the game evolving in any direction, or do you think it's just gonna like we're already where it's gonna be?
I will say that in terms of cycling, like, teams are only going to get faster. I know it's week one. Teams are going to iterate. Teams are going to find new ways to, acquire game pieces, score game pieces, new ways to line up, make it faster, just overall optimize everything. But there is going to be a cap to that because, we've seen it in other cycling games in the past. A single robot can only cycle so much, although 2056 was challenging my belief of what that so much number is this weekend. But there is still a limit, of how many cycles you can do. But I think we'll see more of the grids get scored. I mean, the number one alliance was scoring almost all of level 3, all of level 2 at Newmarket. So we'll see more scoring there. I think we'll see a lot of triple balance attempts at the very least, and probably more successful ones throughout the season. I don't know if I see the game changing drastically. I mean, defense will be a factor. People will figure out how to play defense more effectively as the game goes on. But I think we're kind of seeing the game in its more or less form that we'll see it at higher levels, but just with better accuracy of scoring.
So one thing that I think we're going to see is I think robots are going to change. I think there's going to be a lot of teams who see what was effective in weeks 1 and 2, and I think we're going to see a lot of new intakes on robots. I think we're going to see some architecture changes of robots because this is our 3rd season, but only our 2nd full season of no bag. And in Ontario, it's kind of our 1st full season of it, because last year there were so many restrictions due to the pandemic on when teams could get access to the schools. But now teams, I think we're going to see a lot more wholesale changes, which I think will be interesting. I don't know, Zoe, has your team talked about making any changes? I saw a little bit of a smirk on your face there.
Yeah, well, I have like 2 long meetings this week where we're just kind of trying to like iron out some problems we had with the mechanism at Newmarket. And I think we're just trying to make it more efficient. I know like the main like thing that we prioritized in our design was we made our robot like really, really thin so that we could go, I don't know the dimensions, but we made it really thin so we could like go with 2 other teams onto the charge station. So I think we were having some troubles making the mechanism like also that thin.
It-
But I think we're kind of working around it. So that's kind of what we've been working on.
Yeah, it's and that was something we saw a lot of too. We saw a lot of little robots, a lot of very small robots. I know a Georgian makeshift was 24 by 24 inches, which is tiny.
That is
11,
small.
1114 was 22 by 25 inches. Like we're pushing like how small a robot can go. So that was really, really neat, because before it was always like you build as big as you can to take up as much space and for your center of gravity. But this year, if you want to get 3 robots on that charge station, you know, if someone is really, really small, and we saw that with the number 1 alliance, the Georgian, they were able to triple very easily because 11, 14, 22 inches wide, makeshift 24 inches. So it really opened up what they could do. You know, we talked a lot about the robots and stuff, but there's nothing more important first than gracious professionalism. Do each of you have a story of gracious professionalism for the weekend that you want to share with us?
I'm thinking of, am I on? Yeah, I'm thinking of
Yeah.
actually the Skunkworks. They didn't show up till Saturday morning, and they had a team. They had some actually issues with their coach, and their original coach got sick, and then their second coach, who was supposed to bring them, also came down with COVID just prior to the tournament. So they came, and the previous, I know that their hopes weren't very high, and what happened. But anyways, I think that they did their best, and they got the robot going, and they rallied together, and they got support of some other teams. And then by the end of the day, they were what they thought was a malfunction to their motor turned out to be something else, but they didn't really realize that. And I think that word got around, and people started pulling together to help them because they wonder if they're going to be returning on Sunday. And I think that was the key value. It kind of sparked them up to get their hopes and say, okay, we can do this. And teams wanted to see them compete. They just didn't want to see them like give up. So I think that was a way of vicious professionalism for mentors and for other players around there to actually join in and just help out with that. So
That
and
was a
actually
great
they
story.
won. Yeah, and I think they won the inspiration. They
The
won
judges
something on
award.
Sunday.
They won the judges
That's
award
it.
on
Thank you.
Sunday.
All
It was
right,
well
yeah.
deserved for their inspirational story. That was a really cool one, just seeing how everyone rallied together to help them out and get them going. And they were very down, and the community kind of supported them. So that was really cool. What about you, Parth?
No, I guess stories specifically with gracious professionalism in that way of anyone showing it, but more great stories just at the event. Like there were a few robots there that were just a drivetrain because they were behind, and teams are having a hard time with, like, even on 610, like anyone that's not in grade 12 on our team has never been to an FRC event before, especially not a multi-day one. So there's a lot going on. So for me, it was really cool to see some of these robots competing, and even though they didn't have a mechanism, they were still trying. They were balancing every game. They were playing the game. And specifically, I want to do a shout out for the driver on team 8850, because they just had a drivetrain, nothing else. And I remember she was on the practice field practicing balancing because she knew she could contribute there. And I remember just she was happy. She was enjoying herself. And like, given the amount of time I've spent and on the various teams that I've been on in my past, I think you kind of lose that. You lose that initial wow factor of what FRC really is to a high school student. And it was great. And she brought that back in me. So thank you. I didn't get her name, but thank you to her, because I felt really happy just seeing her drive around and enjoy herself there. So
The joy, that youthful kind of rookie sort of joy is easy to lose track of, but it's so magical. Zoe, what about you? Story of gracious professionalism?
Honestly, I'm having trouble picking my favorite one. But there was a team Alta 4 who we were at the event with, and they asked if we could just be in like one of their TikToks, and we basically said nothing. We said like 2 words, and then they sent us like this card, and it was full of stickers and had their like team button on it, and there was a little handwritten message in it, which was like so sweet. And like they did not need to do that. Like we were happy to be in their TikTok. So that was really, really sweet.
That's adorable. That's this is what makes these events special. All right, folks. Week 1 was great. We're going to dive deep into the Georgian event in just a moment. After a word from one of our sponsors, none other than Georgian College. All right, we're back, and now to talk a little bit about the Georgian College District event, which was another fantastic one. I am going to share my screen, and we're going to look at the stats so you can kind of see what's going on here. And looky, we got a little outlier over here on the right. It's Team 4039 Makeshift, who was the top team at the Georgian event, but also was 7th in the world. So this wasn't just like a local sort of thing. Small robot, swerve drive, super effective right there. Then we had another group of teams that was incredibly strong. Revolt Robotics, 4976, 1114 Symbotics, 1325 Inverse Paradox, and 3161 the Tronic Titans. And it made for a really, really intense double elimination bracket because you had 3 alliances. You had who were like right up there at the top, 4039, 1114, 4976 and 1241 and 1325 and 3161. So it was intensity up there at the top. So some really cool performances there. Parth, what do you think of these teams at this Georgian event? Parth, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so okay. Hi, Zoe. Okay, we lost Parth. I think we might have lost Charles too. So it's just the 2 of us right here. Back to the original. Zoe, did you get to check out any of the Georgian videos or anything like that? Or do you have any friends who were at the Georgian event?
So I didn't get to watch it, but I have a really good friend on the youth council, Sally, who was a driver and an impact presenter for her team, which is crazy doing both. So that was amazing for her. And she actually got to be on the winning alliance, which she was like texting me throughout the entire event. She was like, oh my gosh, we just got picked for the first alliance. And then she was like, these matches are insane. And she was really, really excited.
Yeah, team 7659. They won the event with team 4039 and 1114, and they won the Engineering Inspiration Award. So they got 2 medals out of the event, which is super, super cool. But we talked a little bit about it, but we got some match video here from finals match number 2. On the Red Alliance, it's Alliance number 3, teams 1325, 3161, and 8731. And on the Blue Alliance, it's Alliance number 1, team 4039, 1114, and 7659. So let's take a look at this match. And we're going to tee it up and going to get started in 3, 2, 1, go. And we are playing these with no audio, folks, so we can kind of just chat our way through it. And right away, you see this autonomous mode, Blue Alliance. So Makeshift has already scored a cone. 1114 scored a cone. 1114 goes to pick up another cone. Makeshift's going up there for the balance. And it's like, you're going to have 3 game pieces scored, like pretty much right after teleop. And so Red Alliance is matching up well there too. But like, look at the speed of that Makeshift robot. Oh, I gotta get my drawing tool here. Where's my... You all watch this live. Why can't I find my drawing tool? Okay, maybe I won't draw. That's fine. That's so weird that I can't draw. Okay. Anyways, as it's going on, you see 7659 playing a little bit defense right there, just trying to blockade that one. So not blockade, but blocked up that access to the loading side. 4039's elevator or telescoping arm just comes out so quickly. So it doesn't kind of remind you of how 610's just like flew right out there?
Yeah, it's so cool how like all these teams have designed the robots to be so compacted. It's like so hard to reach that far when you have to stay in the frame perimeter like before the match. And I think it's really cool the way all the teams have approached this problem.
Parth, what are you seeing here?
I mean, I'm just seeing absolute efficiency. Like the driver has, I mean, they must have practiced for hours because like you're not seeing a lot of congestion there. They're not really like I'm talking about makeshift here. They're not really getting slowed down by alliance members or opponents. And just like what is that, 3 seconds across the field? Looks like
1325 is also very quickly moving across the field, and then 1114 just seems to be able to avoid contact at all costs. They're just kind of like it's just a well-driven swerve, you know, and maybe the year of experience going around it, just kind of like spinning off, bouncing off, and like, whoop, there you go, and like, oh, around over the charge station. Like this is a fun, very well balanced match. Like, look, Red Alliance is putting up scores. It's like they're matching each other
it's
cycle for
very
cycle right
close.
here.
Yeah, it's just game piece goes up on each side almost simultaneously.
What's interesting here, 7659 is going to balance the charge station. They're going up early, and
Right.
now they're going to the middle. And then it's like, is there enough room for 2 robots? But like teeny tiny 1114 gets on one side, teeny tiny makeshift gets on the other side. And 7659 is controlling the balance there for the alliance. They're letting the third robot control the balance. And over on the red side, like, look, with bigger robots, they're having a hard time fitting everyone on. They need this. If they get this triple, they're going to win this match. If they're leading right now, they get this triple, they're going to win this match, but they cannot. And so it shows that the smaller robots have a little bit of an advantage. And I think that's going to be a big factor there in alliance selection. So that was a fabulous match right there. Final score, I believe, was 132 to 107. That it was wild looking at the scores from Georgian because there was so many matches like that. Both teams over 100. It would be like a 5-point match, and it was just like really, really high powered. The number one alliance, did 4039, the makeshift alliance. They did lose one match in the upper bracket. Had to
I was
go
just
down.
going to say their number one alliance was blue on that scoreboard, which meant they must have moved down to the lower bracket.
Very confusing. It's always confusing seeing 1114 and blue bumpers in general. It's just very, very trippy for me. But yeah, they went down to the lower bracket and pushed on through, and then won in the finals. That's what I want to ask about. We haven't talked about that yet. The double elimination tournament. Parth, what did you think of it?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really cool. I mean, maybe I'm just too used to the old thing and I just wanted to change it. I don't know, but I thought it was absolutely amazing. As a drive coach in there, I found it really exciting to have to strategize for a match, have a little bit more time to work on my robot, do my system check, get battery changes, give water to my drive team kids and all of that stuff, but also still have time to strategize for a completely different alliance and have to figure out a completely different strategy. I mean, not really. The game didn't evolve that much at week 1, but you know what I mean. Like just playing a different alliance it does change certain things and what you prioritize and how you prioritize your autos and things like that. So that was really fascinating. The fact that we did have upsets, you know, and if I can use that word really, but there was, you know, teams losing that you don't expect to lose, and obviously that changes the dynamics of the playoffs. And I mean, it was overall, I thought it made for a very exciting elimination round. And if I may, I also think it's awesome that we get awards done during and in between matches. I know that's something we've experimented with here in Ontario in the past, but I love that that's the new approach because I think everyone's paying attention during eliminations. I think, you know, everyone's there. No one's left early just as yet.
Oh, looks like Parth's Wi-Fi might be going there.
And it just makes the whole day feel a lot more continuous and not disjointed, which I loved.
Charles, what did you think of the new format?
I liked it. It kept you on your edge of the seat at every stage of the I was very impressed, and also watching where they're going to go. And like, even though you lost one, you still had hope. And the fact that you've had hope makes you able to rise up. And like Parth was saying, you know, strategize. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to improve? and then come back really as strong as possible. So it's also good to see teams strategizing either on the field and or off the field, and realizing like the strength of the robots, or how they can contribute with each other, either at the end game or an auto.
Zoe, what about you? What are your thoughts on the format?
Yeah, so I completely missed the description of what the new format was at the beginning, so I was quite lost for the first half. I also don't like change, so I was very partial to the old system, but once I like figured out what was going on, I thought it was really cool how like it's not the same teams against each other every time, because sometimes it gets repetitive, especially when it's like the number 1 seed alliance versus the number 8 seed alliance. And like that's like such a big difference, since usually like the 1 and 2 seeded teams are on the number 1 alliance. And it's so strong. It's like watching those matches, especially when there's like 2 of them, like 3 of them, it gets like a little bit repetitive. So I thought it was cool how it was like different teams facing different people each time. So it took me a while to get invested in it, but I do like it.
Yeah, for me, it was really cool seeing Alliance 7 and Alliance 8. They lost their matches to Alliance 1 and Alliance 2 in the first round, but then they played different opponents and they won those matches and they advanced to the third round. And so and they finished in a tie for 5th place. And like normally Alliance 7 and 11, like it is it's a big challenge to have to play 2056 and Robotics 2200, in the first round. So that's a tough one. So having a second chance against a different alliance, I think, is great. Other things that Georgian to talk about a little bit. 3161 Chronic Titans really, really impressed me. Huge leap from last season. The robot that I think is only going to get better, because it looked like at Georgian they were only scoring mid and low. And having read their build blog, which you should check out on Chief Delphi, it sounds like they're going to have high grid capability. High grid. It sounds like hybrid, but high grid capabilities for their next event. Look out, man. Chronic Titan's going to be one. And then 1325 Inverse Paradox, they were fantastic, like they have been for like the last 8 years. But it was just really solid again. And then of course 4976 Revolt Robotics, I think was very, very impressive. So it was like a great group of teams there at Georgian. Also want to recognize, we talked about our winners and finalists. We mentioned briefly team 7659 HNMCS Robotics winning the Engineering Inspiration Award along with their finalist, which is very cool. And the first Impact Award winner for the event was Team 3161, the Chronic Titans. So they had a pretty fantastic weekend. They got 2 medals for themselves as well. So very, very cool there.
Yeah, in that video you were playing from the Georgian finals, I was watching that. I watched that video before the show, and I remember watching 3161, and my initial reaction was I have to rewind and watch this again. Like their cycling looked so effective, and they were driving, the swerve drive again, but their lineup at the loading station, they were in, they were out, and that's going to be a big key for teams this year. And I actually have checked out their build blog, and they have been doing some really exciting stuff this season. So huge kudos to them, because that robot looked phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Sometimes when you watch a match, you're kind of focused on teams that you expect to be focused on.
Right.
So I watched the from the event in California this weekend. I watched the finals because I wanted to watch Citrus Circuits and High Tide 414, and they were flipping it phenomenal. High Tide's the fastest robot I've seen this season. Right. But then Team 6036, a team that I don't know really well on the Blue Alliance, I watched them. I was like, holy shamoly, this team is so good. Super simple, just double jointed arm, simple claw, and they were just flying back and forth. I'm like, oh, this is a team I'm watching for the rest of the season now. They're on my list, and Chronic Titans are another one that's they're on the list. All right, folks, Georgian was fun. We're going to be back in a moment to talk a little bit about Newmarket, but before we do that, let's take a look at a word from one of our sponsors. All right, we're back and we're going to be talking about Newmarket. So to set the stage, I will share my screen. And here we are. So, we talked about 2056. They're in their own universe. But there was a group of really, really solid teams right here that were all jockeying to be on that #1 alliance during the qualification. It was kind of interesting to watch. 2200 Robotics, every single year, they come out firing in week 1. Just so smooth, effective, well practiced. It was phenomenal to watch. Part that I know you're probably too modest to say it, but 610 looked really good coming out. Like as Zoe said, that arm was fantastic, so creative. Did you win who won the creativity award? I
It
should
was
know.
the
I was
Innovation
looking.
and Control Award.
Okay, you won the Innovation and Control Award, but yeah, it was, that piece was cool. 1305 was just amazing at the logo, and they really used it effectively to build up links with cubes, which I thought was really, really smart. 7558 is probably the fastest robot in Ontario right now.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
quick.
Right, Charles? They were just like,
Yeah.
you blink
These
and they're on the
two.
other side of the field, and their driver, no wasted motions, just kind of.
You know what's interesting? I don't know if they're comfortable with me sharing this, but they actually ended up switching drivers partway through the event. I don't know the reason as to
Really?
why, but yeah. So the driver that was driving on Sunday didn't actually start driving on Saturday, which I don't know the story behind that. And you ask them and at them on Instagram or something. I don't know, but yeah, and they're just such a fun team. We're good friends with them because they're down the road. Just go down York Mills and we can go hang out with them. But they were actually practicing here at Crescent with us, and we got to know them quite well, and they're a great fun team on social media. I know Zoe mentioned some of their social media stuff earlier, but just absolutely phenomenal. And that robot was, we saw it practice at Crescent, so I wasn't all that surprised when they were killing it out there on the field. But I know on Saturday they were having some issues, and they really dialed it in for Sunday, and man, they were looking really, really sharp on Sunday.
Yeah, their alliance with Team 610, just not with 610, 1305.
1305,
just
yeah.
kind of flying down the field.
If only, Karthik, if only.
If only. Right. Well, you had a pretty good alliance too there, though, with the Alpha Dogs, who were one of the better teleop scorers at the event, their swerve drive, and that big robot just bursting on the field. I was a big fan of Team 5409, the Chargers. I think this is a team that's going to be great by the end of the season. They were very good at this point, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement right there. So it was really impressive to see right there. So, I think maybe let's take a look at a match video from Newmarket. So it's finals match number 2. In red, we got Team 1305, 7558, which we talked about, and their third partner, Team 4951. And in red, obviously, we got in blue. See, I'm getting thrown off on these bumpers again. 2056, 2200, and 6514. So the match is just about to get started here. It's on our screen, and look at it go. 2056 with the spin move in auto, and then that's their second cone up, and then they grab a third one, and then they go on
and balance the bridge.
And they do that every
that.
time.
Yeah,
that was exciting to see that throughout
it's
the whole
week one.
whole
It's
weekend,
week one, folks. And so we talked earlier about how like makeshift and Robotics built small. No, 2056 didn't build small at all. The robot's massive. It's a beast. It just looks so. It's like a T-Rex out there. But like, I don't want to only watch them, but my brain, whenever they're on the
because
field,
you look over on the other side, Karthik, you're watching 7558 and 1305, and they're cycling really fast there.
Yeah,
spin move there from 7558, and they're so quick in and out of that loading station. Like they just went in, they're out of there, they're back in, a little spin move there.
What's wild is red is playing so well, but they're already down by 23 points. Like,
well, they started behind after auto because 2056 scores 24 points just on their own. And that doesn't even account for 2200, who's doing 2 game pieces in auto as well.
And 2056 is like doing 2 cycles for like they're matching 1305 and 7558. It is wild. And then again, over the charge station, like Charles mentioned earlier, it doesn't phase them at all. And then spin the other direction. Whoa! So they went clockwise, then counterclockwise.
If you notice 4951, they're on the defense there.
Yep.
They haven't left that center area, and they're trying to block out the Red Alliance.
they're patrolling right there.
Yeah, they're doing a
you
great
know?
job of just trying to slow down the Red Alliance.
Yeah, like in this game, I don't think you need to stop anyone on defense, but just by running a little bit of interference, if you can slow down a cycle by like a second or two, that stuff adds up, especially like when you get to the matches, which were as close as they were as Georgian. Like this match is not exactly close right here. 25 links already, give them a ranking point if it wasn't playoffs. And just this is wild. This is wild. 26 seconds, they go for another cycle. They're not even intimidated. Like a lot of teams would just be like, oh, 26 seconds left. No, it's balance time.
They start heading towards the charging station, but notice,
Yeah,
they go.
They go. And so now they're going to go on and they're going to do a double balance. Don't do a triple because they don't need a triple at this point because they're winning by so
this
much.
Is smart driving right here.
Yeah. And then beautiful triple, by the way, by the Red Alliance. Like
they did it all eliminations. They were every single match, if I'm not mistaken, they were up there triple balanced every single time.
That is fantastic. Right there. You can see why everyone was talking about 2056. We can see why all those robots on the Alliance were in the finals and they belong there. And like 1305 was scoring very efficiently, just in terms of like link creation. Every game piece had a purpose towards a link. It's not like they were just like kind of firing up there. But final score of that match was 148 to 111 for blue, and they were our Newmarket champions right there. So that was all pretty impressive.
Can I share some thoughts, Karthik?
Of course,
specifically about 1305.
Yeah.
I want to bring back another game as an analog for what 1305's capability is. I know there's always a lot of discussion about, single game piece, is it worth it? Especially is cones more worth it than cubes because more scoring areas. But I just want to say, like 2014, do you remember the low goal cycle in qualifications was extremely worthwhile because you guarantee those assist points, you shoot up the rankings, and it was a very effective strategy for a lot of teams to make sure they're getting those assist points in because you don't want to miss that ball in the high goal. 1305 with the cube cycles, that's what they were doing. They were getting those, in the analog of assist points. And I think they are a great role model for teams who are going that single game piece route in cubes only. And they were shooting them. Like we haven't even talked about the fact that they were shooting them. They weren't placing them, they were launching them. And anyone who knows me, I love shooting cubes, so love that. So I was really impressed by them.
Speaking of cube specialists and low goal specialists, Georgian rookie team 1998, folks, keep an eye on this team. They were just low goal cycles. That's all they were doing. Low goal, I call it the low goal, but you know what I mean. The low portion of the grid cycles.
The hybrid nodes,
They were, doing like 2 links themselves. Cubes just low. So like that's huge to have on an alliance in qualifications or in the playoffs. So this is a team to watch for sure. Rookie team, folks, but like a rookie team pick something simple, said, we're not going up high, we're not going mid, we're just going to do this. And they were one of the top teams at the event. And they were like, let me just tell you where they seated. Give me a second. Why did I lose it? They were the 6th seed. I was just
about to say they must have been a captain at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're scoring game pieces and completing links. You're getting ranking points for those, right?
So
cool. That's awesome.
It's you love seeing that. I love seeing teams being rewarded for going simple. One thing that was very cool at Newmarket, 8 of the teams had used the Everybot design, which was pretty neat to see. We had the Everybot folks on this show a couple months ago. Wow, was it a couple months ago already? Time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. That was neat to see. Also, at Newmarket, this was at Georgian. At Georgian, 11 of the 28 teams had Swerve Drive. Newmarket was 8 of 34. So the proliferation of Swerve Drive is really flowing through Ontario. Now, in the States, there was an event with 40 teams and 30 of them had Swerve Drives. So it's everywhere now, folks. Swerve is here and it's here to stay. And like the teams, like at Georgian, of the 11 teams who did Swerve, 10 were either alliance captains or first round picks.
Karthik,
yes.
Can you just tell the audience what is Swerve Drive for those of us who may not be aware of it?
Yeah, sure. So Swerve Drive is when you have 4 wheels on your robot, 1 in each corner, but the wheel can actually rotate itself. So your robot has the ability to go sideways, front and back, sideways. And also it can spin while it's going straight. So if we take a look at this video, thanks for bringing it up there, Annika. 2056 is a prime example of a swerve drive robot. And so okay, so we just into auto. And so if you watch how 2056 moves, they can go sideways, they can spin, and like see how they went sideways there to realign themselves and sideways there again. So they don't need to turn to do that sort of motion like most drivetrains do. And so it's a really fluid motion that allows you to kind of move in any direction you want at any point, and you can translate and rotate at the same time.
Thank you.
No problem. And so that's one of the really neat sort of things there. And last year at the first championship, over 60% of the robots who made the playoffs were using swerve drive. And it didn't really come to Ontario last year, partially because of the pandemic, partially because no companies were selling it in Canada. But this year it is really picked up. Studica stocks it, Rev stocks it in Canada, and lots of teams were ordering the SDS and the WCP modules from the US. So it was it's really neat to see that there. I don't know. I'm a sucker for swerve drive, have been since 1998. That's kind of what got me inspired in first. We went down to watch a competition in Michigan, and I had no idea that robots could potentially move sideways. And I saw a robot just go sideways. I was like, how did that happen? And like, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that. That's kind of what got me hooked. So I'll talk about swerve drive nonstop there. Folks, we're coming down to the end of the show, but before we do go to final thoughts, I just want to recognize a couple other award winners from the Newmarket event. Engineering Inspirations Team 1305 Ice Cubed. They do so much outreach, and they are like the model, like the role model team, just like their graciousness pervades through everything they do, and you can count on them if you need them. Fabulous, fabulous team. And the first Impact Award for Newmarket went to Team 4476, the Waffles. In their speech, talked about how they've mentored 20 teams over the past 3 years, and they have some amazing online resources on their YouTube channel. If you're looking to build FLL Challenge robots, that their YouTube channel has it all. So it's just some really, really deserving teams being recognized there. And so 1305, 2 silver medals at the event with the EI and the finalists. So that's pretty cool for them. Folks, before we go, any final thoughts on the weekend, final thoughts on the events, anything you want to say, anything you want to share, anything you want to promote?
Yeah, my kids will kill me if I don't promote it. The 610 reveal video is out, and there was a lot of great work done on it. So if you're into 610 reveal videos, check it out on our YouTube page. And final thoughts, just before we wrap up, I just want to do a huge thank you to all the volunteers for week 1 events and in general, but especially week 1 events. It's very, very hard, and a huge shout out to the FTAs, the referees, inspectors, and First Canada staff for putting on an absolutely fantastic event through the threat of a snowstorm, which was scary, by the way. We were driving to our hotel, and that was a scary snowstorm.
Hey, can I say the work the volunteers put in, setting this field up, getting it all ready, braving the snowstorm, keeping the event going, and then tearing it all down, which is something that very few people see. But the amount of work it takes to put this all back in just cases and get it ready for the next set of events. After the event ends and people are out of there at 6:30, but these volunteers, they're there until like 10:30, 11, sometimes even later, tearing things up. And like Charles, you were there for setup day, and then you were there like first thing in the morning on the Friday, right?
Yeah, so I learned a lot, and like you said, a lot more appreciation for actually the field and the people that are actually putting it together. So yeah, kudos to them. Thank you, Parth.
Yeah. And Zoe, what about you? The student perspective, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just really excited since one of my main jobs on the team is like being in the pit and talking to like people who are passing by and judges and stuff. So I didn't really get to go to any teams in that competition last year since it was such limited numbers and that could all be done virtually. So I was really, really excited to actually go to a competition with my team and get to have all those in-person interactions with like sponsors and judges.
So you didn't do an in-person event last year? I know you volunteered, but not with your team?
No, so because I still wanted to be with the team, my team competed at Humber and Waterloo, and I volunteered for field reset at both of those.
Oh, right. That's right. But it's a different perspective. So you've seen the volunteers perspective. Now you've seen the team perspective. Well, I want to thank the 3 of you for being here on the show, especially, you know, Charles and Parth, you were exhausted from the weekend. So thank you for making some time for us and talking about Newmarket and Georgian. So remember, folks, next week there is no show. We're off for March break, but we will be back on March 21st for a recap of the Humber and Western events. So, folks, I want you to have a very restful but absolutely fun and safe March break, whether you're traveling, whether you're staying at home. Take care of yourselves. Watch the robot webcast. Enjoy your time. You know, de-stress a little bit. Stay hydrated, and we will see everyone in a couple weeks. Bye, folks.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye-bye.